Welcome back to the Financial Chronicles channel. Today, we are embarking on a journey through time, a journey that reveals a chilling truth hidden in the pages of history. It is a pattern that has repeated itself for thousands of years, destroying the greatest empires the world has ever known. From the marble halls of Rome to the vast territories of the Spanish Empire and the iron grip of the Soviet Union, they all followed the same script. And now, the evidence suggests that the United States of America, the modern economic superpower, is following this exact same path. We are talking about the seven-stage collapse pattern and why many experts believe the USA has now entered the critical stage 5. To understand where we are going, we must understand where we have been. History, as they say, does not repeat itself, but it rhymes. Sir John Glubb, a British military historian, studied empires that spanned over 4,000 years. He discovered something terrifyingly consistent. No matter the technology, no matter the religion, and no matter the location, empires seem to have a lifespan. They are born, they rise, they peak, and they die, usually within a cycle of about 250 years. The United States is currently 248 years old. Think about that for a second. Let us begin with stage 1, the Age of Pioneers. This is the outburst. It starts with a group of people who are tough, disciplined, and possess extraordinary courage. Think of the early American settlers or the Macedonian armies under Alexander. In this stage, there is no money. There is only grit, determination, and a shared vision. The currency of this age is action, not gold. The society is stoic. They are willing to sacrifice comfort for a greater future. They are hungry. This energy transitions into stage 2, the Age of Conquests. The pioneers succeed. They acquire land, resources, and power. But they do not stop there. They build systems. They establish order. This is when the empire begins to take shape physically. In the American context, this was the expansion west, the building of the railroads, the Industrial Revolution. The society is still grounded in reality. Hard work is the only path to success. There is no financial engineering yet, just steel, oil, and muscle. Then comes stage 3, the Age of Commerce. The conquests have secured safety. Now, the focus shifts from survival to profit. This is a glorious time. It is the era of the merchant. Trade routes are opened. The standard of living explodes. The empire becomes rich, unimaginably rich. In this stage, the values are still intact. People value honesty in business. A man's word is his bond. The currency is sound, usually backed by gold or silver. It is honest money for honest work. The Spanish Empire brought back gold from the New World. The British Empire dominated global trade routes. And the US became the manufacturing engine of the world after World War II. But this is where the seeds of destruction are planted. Because wealth, massive wealth, changes the psychology of a nation. We slowly move into stage 4, the Age of Affluence. And this, my friends, is the turning point. The struggle for survival is a distant memory. The new generation has never known hunger. They have never known war on their own soil. They take security for granted. The focus shifts from duty to rights, from community to self. In the Age of Affluence, the objective of life changes. It is no longer about honor or glory. It is about money. But not money earned through hard production, but money acquired for the sake of status. Greed, which was once a sin, begins to be viewed as a virtue. The sturdy virtues of the pioneers, courage, austerity, self-sacrifice, are replaced by a desire for luxury. We see the rise of vast income inequality. The rich get richer, not by building factories, but by leveraging assets. The divide begins. This sets the stage for the most dangerous transition of all, the slide into stage 5. This is where we believe the United States finds itself today. It is a stage defined by a specific phenomenon, the shift from manufacturing to finance, and the shift from real money to fiat currency. When an empire becomes too rich, it becomes lazy. It stops producing things and starts shuffling paper. Why build a factory when you can speculate on the stock market? Why work hard when you can borrow cheap money? Historically, this is the moment when the empire breaks the link between its currency and gold. Rome debased the denarius. The Spanish Empire flooded Europe with silver until it became worthless. And in 1971, the United States severed the link between the dollar and gold. This is not a coincidence. This is the classic signal that the empire has entered the danger zone. But stage 5 is not just about economics. It is a cultural phenomenon. It is called the Age of Intellect. Now, that sounds positive, doesn't it? But in the context of falling empires, it is fatal. The society becomes obsessed with debate, theory, and academic discourse, while ignoring the brutal realities of the physical world. Action is replaced by endless talking. We see the rise of bureaucracy. The state expands. It tries to manage every aspect of life. Just like the Soviet Union in its later years, the system becomes heavy, slow, and inefficient. The Age of Intellect leads to a paralysis of will. We know what the problems are, but we are too divided, too argumentative, and too comfortable to solve them. The pioneers acted. The merchants built. But the intellectuals? They argue, while the foundation rots beneath their feet. As we delve deeper into this analysis, the parallels become undeniable. We left off at the dawn of stage 5, the Age of Intellect and the beginning of Decadence. This is the stage where the empire unknowingly signs its own death warrant. Let us look closely at the symptoms of stage 5, specifically in the context of the modern United States and the Western world. The first major symptom is the explosion of debt. In every past empire, when the age of expansion ends, the government tries to maintain the illusion of prosperity by spending money it does not have. The Roman emperors gave the people bread and circuses, free food and entertainment, to keep them happy while the economy crumbled. Today, we see the exact same pattern. Welfare states explode. Military spending remains massive, even as the threats change. The national debt of the U.S. has gone vertical, reaching numbers that are mathematically impossible to pay back. But why does this happen? It happens because in stage 5, the currency has been weaponized against the people. When money is no longer tied to gold, the government can print it at will. This creates a temporary high, a false sense of wealth. Stock markets hit all-time highs. Real estate prices soar, but the value of the money in your pocket is dying. This is the illusion of stage 5. It looks like prosperity, but it is actually capital consumption. We are eating the seed corn. We are spending the wealth accumulated by our ancestors, leaving nothing for our children but debt. The second symptom of stage 5 is the intensification of internal division. When the pie stops growing, people start fighting over the remaining slices. In the early stages, the external enemy united the tribe. In stage 5, the tribe turns on itself. Political polarization reaches extreme levels. Does this sound familiar? The left hates the right. The right hates the left. There is no middle ground. There is no compromise. Civil discourse dies. It is replaced by shouting matches. The shared values that once held the empire together, God, country, family, honor, are mocked or forgotten. Sir John Glubb noted that in this stage, empires often see an influx of foreigners. Now, immigration itself is a natural part of history. But in the declining stages, the empire loses its ability to assimilate new people. The melting pot grows cold. Instead of becoming one unified culture, the society fractures into warring tribes within the same borders. Rome faced this with the Germanic tribes. They were invited in, but never became Roman. Eventually, they were the ones who sacked the city. The third symptom, and this is a painful one to admit, is the loss of masculinity and the rise of feminization in the culture. Please understand, this is a historical observation made by Glubb and other historians, not a modern political statement. In the age of pioneers, physical strength and martial virtues were essential for survival. Men were warriors and builders. But in the age of decadence, stage 5 and 6, society becomes soft. Comfort is the highest goal. The warrior ethos is despised. The society becomes obsessed with celebrities, singers, and actors, rather than generals, explorers, or scientists. Look at our media today. Who are the heroes? They are not the men building bridges or fighting fires. They are the influencers living in luxury. Glubb wrote, "The heroes of declining nations are always the same, the athlete, the singer, and the actor. We are more interested in the scandals of a movie star than the collapse of our currency." This distraction is the anesthesia of a dying empire. Let's look at the Soviet Union as a comparative case study for stage 5. In the 1970s and 80s, the USSR was structurally rot. They had more nuclear weapons than anyone else. They had a massive army. On paper, they were a superpower. But inside, the system was dead. The bureaucracy was stifling. Nobody believed in the ideology anymore. The currency, the ruble, was a joke. People pretended to work, and the government pretended to pay them. This is the hollow empire. The USA today still has the strongest military. It still has the biggest economy. But the internal structure is becoming hollow. The manufacturing base has been shipped overseas. The supply chains are fragile, and the people are losing faith in their institutions. Trust is the glue of society. In stage 5, trust evaporates. We don't trust the media. We don't trust the politicians. We don't trust the banks. When trust is gone, the contract is broken. And this leads us to the inevitable consequence of stage 5, the transition into stage 6, the age of decadence and decline. But before we talk about the total collapse, we must understand the mechanism of the trap. The trap is the financial system itself. In stage 5, the economy becomes financialized. What does that mean? It means making money from money rather than making money from things. Banks become too big to fail. Derivatives markets become larger than the entire global economy. It becomes a casino. And just like a casino, the house always wins until the building catches fire. The US is currently trapped in a debt spiral. If they stop printing money, the system collapses immediately in a deflationary depression. If they keep printing money, they destroy the dollar through hyperinflation. They are walking a tightrope over a canyon. And the wind is picking up. The wind is indeed picking up, and the tightrope is fraying. As we continue our dissection of the 7-stage collapse pattern, we must now face the harsh reality of how stage 5 transitions into the chaotic stage 6. We have discussed the loss of industry, the rise of debt, and the cultural decay. But there is a specific mechanism that accelerates this decline: the corruption of the intelligentsia. In the final stages of an empire, the education system stops teaching critical thinking and starts teaching conformity. In ancient Athens, just before its fall, the sophists rose to power. They were teachers who argued that there is no objective truth, only opinion and persuasion. Does this sound like our modern universities? When a society abandons the search for truth, it loses its ability to solve problems. We start prioritizing feelings over facts. We prioritize ideology over competence. We see bridges failing, planes having technical issues, and power grids shutting down. Why? Because competence is no longer the primary metric for hiring and promotion. This is the competence crisis. An empire is a complex machine. It requires highly skilled engineers, doctors, and administrators to keep it running. When you start promoting people based on quotas, connections, or political loyalty, rather than pure merit, the machine starts to break down. It starts slowly, a train derailment here, a blackout there, a banking glitch. But these are not accidents. They are symptoms of systemic incompetence. Let us return to the financial aspect, because money is the lifeblood of the empire. In stage 5 and 6, the Cantillon Effect becomes extreme. Richard Cantillon was an 18th century economist who realized that when new money is printed, it does not enter the economy evenly. The people close to the money printer, the government, the big banks, the defense contractors, get the new money first. They get to spend it before prices rise. By the time that money trickles down to the working class, prices have already skyrocketed. This transfers wealth from the poor to the rich. It is a hidden tax. This explains why, in the US today, the stock market can be at an all-time high while the average American cannot afford a home. The rich are asset holders. The poor are cash holders. Inflation destroys cash, but it inflates assets. This dynamic creates a powder keg of social unrest. History shows us that when the gap between the haves and the have-nots becomes too wide, revolutions happen. The French Revolution, the Russian Revolution, they were all triggered by economic desperation mixed with perceived injustice. The USA is currently sitting on this powder keg. The middle class, the backbone of any stable democracy, is being hollowed out. They are sliding into poverty, while the elite live in a completely different reality. Now, let's talk about the military overreach. This is a classic trap for stage 5 empires. They try to be the policemen of the world. Rome had legions stretched from Scotland to Syria. The British Empire tried to control half the globe. The Soviet Union bankrupted itself fighting in Afghanistan and supporting proxy wars. The United States currently has approximately 750 military bases in 80 countries. The cost of maintaining this global footprint is astronomical. But it is not just the money. It is the loss of focus. By trying to control the borders of other nations, the empire loses control of its own borders. We see this clearly today. The U.S. military is focused on Ukraine, the Middle East, and the South China Sea, while the southern border of the U.S. is wide open, with millions of undocumented people pouring in. This is the classic paradox of the declining empire: strong abroad, weak at home. But eventually, the weakness at home makes the strength abroad impossible to sustain. Furthermore, in Stage 5, we see the rise of the welfare state as a tool for political control. As the economy weakens for the average person, the population becomes dependent on government handouts, food stamps, subsidies, stimulus checks. This creates a vicious cycle. The more people depend on the state, the more power the state accumulates. The politicians promise more free stuff to get elected. To pay for the free stuff, they must print more money. Printing more money causes inflation. Inflation makes people poorer, so they need more free stuff. It is a death spiral, and it destroys the human spirit. A population that is dependent on the state loses its drive, its innovation, and its resilience. They become subjects, not citizens. In the final years of Rome, nearly one-third of the population was receiving free grain from the state. They had lost the will to work. They had lost the will to fight. When the barbarians finally arrived at the gates, the Romans did not have the strength to resist. They were too busy watching the games at the Colosseum, waiting for their free bread. Are we so different today? Staring at our screens, waiting for the next stimulus check, while the foundations of our economy crumble. The transition from Stage 5 to Stage 6 is psychological. It happens when the people realize that the American dream is dead. When a young person realizes that no matter how hard they work, they will never afford a house. That is the moment the social contract breaks. That is the moment when quiet quitting becomes a national movement. Why work hard for a system that is rigged against you? This cynicism is the poison that kills the empire from within. We have now arrived at the darkest part of our analysis. We have diagnosed the disease. We have identified the symptoms. Now, we must look at the prognosis. If the USA is indeed transitioning from Stage 5 to Stage 6, what does the immediate future look like? Stage 6 is often called the Age of Decadence and Chaos. In this stage, the rule of law begins to break down. We are already seeing the early signs of this. In major U.S. cities, shoplifting is effectively decriminalized. Assaults go unpunished. There is a two-tiered justice system, one for the political elite and one for everyone else. When the law is no longer applied equally, it is no longer law. It is just power. This leads to a breakdown in social order. People stop calling the police because they know the police won't come, or if they do, the criminal will be released the next day. So, people start taking matters into their own hands. Private security booms. Gated communities become fortresses. The society fragments into small, defensive enclaves. This is the feudalization of the modern world. We are returning to a time of lords and peasants, living in separate worlds within the same geography. But the biggest shock that is coming is the monetary reset. Every Stage 5 empire eventually faces a currency crisis. The US dollar has been the world reserve currency since 1944. It is an exorbitant privilege. It allows the US to export its inflation to the rest of the world. But the world is waking up. The BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, are actively building an alternative system. They are buying gold at record paces. They are trading in their own currencies. They are preparing for a post-dollar world. When the world stops accepting US dollars for oil and goods, all those trillions of dollars that are currently overseas will flood back into the US domestic economy. The result? Hyperinflation. Imagine a scenario where the cost of bread, gas, and electricity doubles every month. It happened in Weimar Germany. It happened in Zimbabwe. It happened in Venezuela. It can't happen here, you say? That is exactly what the people of Rome thought. That is what the people of the Soviet Union thought. The laws of economics are like the laws of physics. They apply to everyone. Gravity does not care if you are a superpower. If you step off the cliff, you will fall. However, there is a fascinating counterargument. Some analysts believe the US might face a deflationary collapse first. Because the debt is so high, if the credit markets freeze, money effectively disappears. Prices crash. Real estate collapses. Wages vanish. Whether it is fire, inflation, or ice, deflation, the result is the same. the destruction of the middle class, and the resetting of the wealth hierarchy. During these times, the decadence we spoke of earlier turns into despair. Suicide rates rise. Drug addiction epidemics, like the fentanyl crisis we see now, devastate entire communities. This is the spiritual death of the nation. The spirit of the pioneer is completely gone, replaced by the spirit of the victim. But, and here is where we must look for the signal amidst the noise. Collapse is not always the Yendi. It is often a transformation. The British Empire collapsed, but Britain survived. It just became a smaller, less significant island nation. The standard of living dropped relative to the rest of the world, but life went on. The Soviet Union collapsed, and after a decade of brutal hardship, Russia re-emerged. The question for the USA is, will it go quietly into the night, becoming just another normal country? Or will it fight to keep its hegemony? A fighting empire is a dangerous empire. History suggests that declining powers often lash out militarily as a last resort. War is the ultimate distraction. It acts as a reset button for the economy and a way to demand unity from a divided population. This brings us to the terrifying possibility of World War III. Is the current geopolitical tension with Russia and China just posturing? Or is it the inevitable friction of tectonic plates shifting? The old empire versus the rising powers. If the US feels cornered, if the dollar is threatened with extinction, the leadership might choose war over collapse. This is the Thucydides trap. When a rising power threatens to displace a ruling power, the result is almost always war. We are standing on the precipice of this trap right now. And what about the technology? This is the wild card that previous empires did not have. AI, robotics, surveillance. The failing state might try to use these tools to maintain control. We could see the implementation of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. This would give the government total control over your money. They could turn off your ability to buy or sell if you dissent. This is the ultimate tool for a Stage 6 empire trying to prevent Stage 7. It creates a digital prison. The empire may be dead in spirit, but its zombie corpse could keep moving, powered by algorithms and authoritarian control. It is a dystopian vision, yes, but we must be brave enough to look at it. As we move to the final part of our report, we need to ask the most important question: what can you do about it? If the ship is sinking, arguing about who poked the hole is useless. You need to find a lifeboat. We are not here just to spread fear. We are here to spread awareness. Because in every collapse, there are survivors. In every crisis, there is opportunity. Wealth is never truly destroyed. It is merely transferred. It moves from the unprepared to the prepared, from the ignorant to the informed, from the holders of paper to the holders of real assets. The pattern is clear. The timeline is ticking. The signs are everywhere for those who have eyes to see. We have arrived at the final chapter. Stage 7, the collapse, and more importantly, the rebirth. History is circular. Winter is followed by spring. Night is followed by day. And the death of an empire is followed by the birth of a new order. Stage 7 is the moment the old structure finally gives way. It is painful. It involves the total loss of faith in the currency and the central government. The map gets redrawn. But for the individual, for you, this does not have to mean the end of the world. Throughout history, during the collapse of Rome or the Weimar Republic, there were families that thrived. There were communities that preserved their values and their wealth. How did they do it? They recognized the pattern early. They did not succumb to normalcy bias, the belief that just because things have been okay for 50 years, they will be okay forever. They took action. So, what is the playbook for Stage 5 transitioning to Stage 7? First, become self-reliant. The system is fragile. Supply chains can break. The power grid can fail. You do not need to become a doomsday prepper living in a bunker, but you must have basic resilience. Can you feed your family for a month if the stores are empty? Do you have access to clean water? Do you have skills that are useful in the real world? Repairing, building, healing, growing food? In the age of decadence, digital skills are highly paid. But in the age of collapse, analog skills are king. A carpenter is worth more than a marketing consultant when the lights go out. Second, secure your wealth. Get out of the system. If your wealth is entirely in paper assets, stocks, bonds, or savings accounts denominated in a dying currency, you are vulnerable. History teaches us that hard assets preserve value. Gold and silver have survived every empire in human history. They are the enemies of the printing press. land, farmland, real estate in stable jurisdictions. Bitcoin, for those who believe in the digital separation of money and state. The goal is to own things that cannot be inflated away by a desperate government. Own what is real. Third, build community. This is the most important one. The lone wolf dies. The pack survives. In a fracturing society, your greatest asset is your network. Your family, your neighbors, your like-minded friends. Who can you trust? Who will watch your back? Build those relationships now. Strong communities can replace the failing services of the state. They can provide security, charity, and trade. This is how civilization restarts. It starts locally. It starts with small groups of people agreeing to cooperate and uphold shared values. Fourth, guard your mind. Do not let the decadence of the culture infect your spirit. Reject the distractions. Reject the polarization. Keep the spirit of the pioneer alive in your own heart. Cultivate discipline. Cultivate strength. Cultivate honor. Teach your children the old virtues. The virtues that built the empire in the first place. Because when the dust settles, the world will need builders again. The world will need leaders who are not corrupted by the age of intellect. The collapse of the U.S. empire, if it happens, will be the biggest event of our lifetimes. It will reshape the geopolitical landscape for the next 500 years. It is a terrifying prospect, but it is also a time of incredible potential. Old, corrupt systems will be washed away. There will be a vacuum, and nature abhors a vacuum. New systems will rise. A new cycle will begin. Will it be a dark age or a renaissance? That depends on us. That depends on what we build in the ashes of the old world. The United States is at stage 5. The clock is ticking toward stage 6. But destiny is not written in stone. Perhaps a miraculous turnaround is possible. Perhaps a return to sound money and sound values can reverse the tide. We must hope for the best, but we must prepare for the worst. The Financial Chronicles channel exists to help you navigate these turbulent waters. We analyze the macro trends so you can make micro decisions that protect your family and your future. Do not be the person who says, "Nobody saw this coming." The writing is on the wall. It has been written there by the ghosts of Rome, of Spain, of Britain. The pattern is undeniable. The only question remaining is, are you ready? Thank you for watching this deep dive into the 7-stage collapse pattern. If you found value in this report, if it opened your eyes to the reality of our historical moment, please do us a favor. Smash that like button. It helps us beat the algorithm and wake more people up. Share this video with your friends and family. The more people who are prepared, the softer the landing will be for everyone. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You do not want to miss our next report, where we will dive even deeper into the specific investment strategies for the coming storm. Stay safe, stay prepared, and keep watching the signs. This is Financial Chronicles, signing off.